Hey everyone, in this video we will be discussing the Congress dominance in the first three general elections. In the last video we discussed how the first general elections were conducted and what were the problems at that time faced by our national leaders and the election commission. In this video we will be understanding and learning about how it was the dominance of one party in the first three general elections of India. The results of the first general election did not surprise anyone. The Indian National Congress was expected to win this election. The Congress Party, as it was popularly known, had inherited the legacy of the national movement. It was the only party then to have an organization spread all over the country. And finally, in Jawaharlal Nehru, the party had the most popular and charismatic leader in Indian politics. So let's understand about the results of the first general election. The first general elections, they did not surprise anyone. Why? Because everyone knew that the Congress will have a good majority. It will have a majority and it will lead the government after the general election. Because everyone knew that it had led the national movement, it had led the freedom movement, and from decades, this party has been in the eye and in the ears of every citizen. Okay, so that's why everyone knew that this party is going to win the election and this party is going to lead the government. Okay, so it was not surprising for anyone. Okay, however, it was popularly known. It inherited legacy of the national movement, the core ideals that were there in the national movement, that was democracy, secularism, and other ideals. The citizen knew that these ideals would be upheld by this party only. However, those ideals were at that time also they are also in the manifestos of many other political parties. But after that only they thought that citizens thought that no, only Congress will help us gain our true potential. Okay, and in Nehru, everyone saw that popular and charismatic leader. He led the Congress campaign and toured through the country. Toured through the country. He toured every place from Kashmir to Tamil Nadu, from Gujarat to Andhra Pradesh, from every state in every part of the country. He was there to had his election campaign uh, make. However, the party won 364 of the 489 seats in the first Lok Sabha and finished way ahead of any other challenger. Any other political party did not secure that much of seats that this party secured, and it secured 364 of the 489 seats. The Communist Party of India, that came next in terms of seats, won only 16 seats. So you can see that the second party that is securing the most number of seats after Congress is just having only 16 seats. The state elections were held with the Lok Sabha elections. The Congress scored big victory in those elections as well. It won a majority of seats in all the states except Travancore, Cochin, part of today's Kerala, Madras, and Odisha. Finally, even in these states, the Congress formed the government. So it formed a big victory in all the elections, in all the states elections also, because the 8 state elections are also conducted along with the Lok Sabha elections, and it won a majority of all these states expecting accepting except Travancore, Cochin, that is a part of today's Kerala, Madras, and Odisha. Finally, even in these states, the Congress formed the government. So the party ruled all over the country at the national and the state level. As expected, Jawaharlal Nehru became the prime minister after the first general election. Everyone knew that this charismatic and influential leader was going to be the prime minister after the election, and that's what happened. A look at the electoral map on the previous page would give you a sense of the dominance of the Congress during the period 1952 to 1962. So you can see that it is a image of how Congress dominated in the first three general elections from 1952 to 1957, from 1957 to 1962, and from 1962 to 1967. In all the three general elections, how the party dominated, you can see clearly that in the first general election it secured 364 seats, and in the next election it secured 371 seats, and in the third election it secured 361 seats. So it is consistently increasing. It is not decreasing. It is consistently increasing, and you can just see that after there was an Indo-China war in 1962. In 1962, there was Indo-China war, and India lost in that. But after that, also the country had a majority trust in the government, that you can see that from 371 to 361, only 10 seats are have been reduced, and not many seats are reduced. Only 10 seats have been reduced of the Congress party. Okay, even after the country lost the Indo-China war. Okay, so you can see. Okay, and next, the Congress maintained the Congress maintained the same position in the Lok Sabha by winning three-fourths of the seats. None of the opposition parties could win even one tenth of the number of seats by the Congress. Okay, so no one could even win one tenth of the number of seats won by the Congress. If Congress won 371 seats, okay, so no one can won even 37 seats. No one could won even 36 seats. Okay, that was the charisma of Congress at that time. Okay, in the state assembly elections, the Congress did not get majority in a few cases. In some cases, in the three general elections, there were in some cases that in the second general election, or in the third general election, there were some cases in the second and third general elections. In the general elections, that Congress did not get a majority in few cases in a few states. The most significant of these cases was in Kerala in 1957. Kerala in 1957, when a coalition led by the CPI of Communist Party of India, where it was a coalition led by this party that won a majority in 1957 in Kerala and formed the government, and Congress did not get a majority in this state. Apart from exceptions like this, Congress controlled the nation and all the state governments. There were some exceptions like Kerala, but apart from that, the Congress ruled all the state governments and the national government. The extent of the victory of the Congress was artificially boosted by our electoral system. The Congress won 3 out of every 4 seats, but it did not get even half of the votes. So there is another perspective here. You can see that it was the Congress win. The win of the Congress, or the victory of the Congress, was also supported by our electoral system. Why? Because our electoral system was of the type the first past the post. That means you did not want to more votes to get elected, to get a seat in the Lok Sabha. You just want to get one vote from the person who is having majority of the votes. If the majority of the votes person is having only 50 votes, if you win 51 votes, so you can clearly be elected in the Lok Sabha. You can clearly get a seat in the Lok Sabha, even if you do not have much of the votes. Okay, in 1952, for example, the Congress obtained 45% of the total votes, but it managed to win 74% of the seats. So it get in 1952, it get only 45% of the total votes, but it managed to win 74% of the seats. So you can clearly see how much difference is there. There is a difference of 30%. But then also you can see that the party is having its government at the center and in all the states. The Socialist Party, the second largest party in terms of votes, secured more than 10% of the votes all over the country, but it could not even win 3% of all the seats. How did this happen? So the Socialist Party, the second largest party in terms of votes, in terms of votes, it gained more than 10% of the votes all over the country, but it could not win even 3% of the seats. Why? Because if you have read the book Indian Constitution at Work, that was a political science book in the last year, so you have learned there first past the post system. In that system you have learned that the number of votes that you get did not matter in this system. The thing that matters is how much seats have you gained. If you have gained seats from winning one plus one vote, apart from the votes that are won by the majority candidate, if you have won plus one vote from that candidate, okay, so then also you can get the seat even if you did not have much of the votes. Okay, so that is the criteria in the first parsa post system that you have learned in the last book of political science in the last year. In this system of election that has been adopted in our country, the party that gets more value votes than others tends to get much more than its proportional share. That is exactly worked in favor of the Congress. If we add up the votes of all the non-Congress candidates, it was more than the votes of the Congress. But the Congress votes divided non-Congress votes divided between different tribal parties and candidates. So the Congress was still way ahead of the opposition and managed to win. And this thing only, that the votes were divided because the non-Congress parties were not together; they were rival of each other. That's why the votes were divided, and the Congress managed to win the election, and it swept the elections. Okay, so that was a thing. And in the next elections, in the 1967 elections, when Ram Manohar Lohia gives the slogan of non-congressism, at that time all the opposition parties, they manage their rivals and they get together to defeat the Congress. That we will study in the next and third chapter, in the second, third, fourth chapter, that we will study all these things. Okay, so the Congress was still ahead of the opposition, managed to win. Here we have a introduction of Rajkumari Amrit Kaur. She was a Gandhian and freedom fighter. She belonged to the royal family of Kapurthala, inherited Christian religion from her mother, member of Constituent Assembly and Ministry for Health in independent India's first ministry. Continued as health minister till 1957. So you have here a newspaper clippings are there, and there is a paragraph also on communist victory in Kerala. As early in 1957, the Congress party had the bitter taste of defeat in Kerala. In the assembly elections held in March 1957, the Communist Party won the largest number of seats in the Kerala legislature. The party won 60 of the 126 seats and had the support of the five independents. The governor invited EMS Namboodiripad, the leader of the Communist Legislature Party, to form the ministry. For the first time in the world, a Communist Party government had come to power through democratic elections. So it was in India only that in the first time in the world, a Communist Party formed the government through democratic processes, through democratic elections. Okay, and it was in India only. Which party? Communist Party. Okay, it was the first time a communist organization formed a government through democratic elections, because there was in China we can see that there is a communist party ruling from so many years, we can see for a century it is ruling. Okay, so but it is ruling without democratic elections, without democratic processes. But in India it was possible in 1957 only that communist party, okay, came to power. On losing power in the state, the Congress party began a liberation struggle against the elected government. It began a liberation struggle. Okay, the Congress party started a liberation struggle against the government of CPI. The CPI had come to power on the promise of carrying out radical and progressive policy measures. The CPI came to power on the basis, on the things that we will remove all the poverty by providing many policies, by initiating many policies, many radical policies, many progressive policies. Okay, the communists claimed that the agitation was led by vested interests and religious organizations. The communists said that because the communists, they have a atheistic mindset. We all know that most of the communists are atheist. So the communists, the CPI leaders and the CPI MLAs of the Kerala Legislative Assembly, they said that, and other political leaders of Communist Party of India, they also said that it was wasted by interest and religious organizations. It was a cluster of religious organizations. It was a group of religious organizations that formed that protest and agitated against the government. In 1959, the Congress government at the center dismissed the communist government in Kerala under Article 356 of the Constitution. So after only 2 years of the government, the Congress government that was in the center, it dismissed the communist government in Kerala under Article 356 of the Constitution. Okay, Article 356 of the Constitution has been many times used as a tool to get the governments of opposition parties dismissed. This decision proved very controversial and was widely cited as one of the prominent instances of the misuse of constitutional emergency powers. Okay, so that is the thing. So we all have seen that the Congress Party under the leadership of Nehru has always been depicted at that time that it was a harbinger of democracy. It secured democracy after the first and second decades of independence. That is true. That is not false. That is true. But at the same time, these type of instances were also there, where the opposition, the leaders, opposition parties were specifically targeted. Okay, you have a picture here where EMS Namboodiripad, he was leading a procession of Communist Party workers after his ministry was dismissed from office in Trivandrum. It was in Trivandrum, Kerala, that he is leading a procession of Communist Party workers after his government was dismissed in August 1959. Okay, and here we have a party which we have to study, but we will study in next videos. But let's understand about it. It's Socialist Party. Socialist Party, we will understand all other political parties in our next videos, but as we have learned that Socialist Party in the general elections, it had the total vote share, it had more than 10%. So that's why we are studying it. The origins of the Socialist Party can be traced back to the mass movement stage of the Indian National Congress in the pre-independence era. When it was the pre-independence era, 1930s, 1940s, 1945, at that time, the emergence was there of Socialist Party. Okay, so the Congress Socialist Party was formed within the Congress in 1934 by a group of young leaders who wanted a more radical and egalitarian Congress. The young leaders, as we have seen that young leaders have more, they have a more values, they have different values, that they have to serve the poor, they have to serve the vulnerable people. So that's why they formed a party within the Congress in 1934, that was Congress Socialist Party. Okay, in 1948 the Congress amended its constitution to prevent its member from having a dual party membership. In 1948 the Congress amended its constitution. It said that none of our member can have dual party membership, that none of our member can have a membership in one party and a membership in another party. Two parties, that is not allowed. Okay, it Congress said, but this forced the socialists to form a separate socialist party in 1948. So there was a Congress Socialist Party within the Congress that was formed in 1934 by a group of young leaders. But after the amendment of the constitution in 1948, this forced the socialists to form a separate socialist party in 1948. Okay, so that's why the party's electoral performance caused much disappointment to its supporters. Although the party had presence in most of the states in India, it could achieve electoral success in only a few pockets. Okay, so we have seen that vote share and a seat winning of the seats. That these two are very different things. So that's why the people who voted for the party, they were very disappointed, because after so much vote share throughout the country, the party had very low seats, low seats, very low seat share. Okay, so that's why they were very disappointed. The socialists believed in the ideology of democratic socialism, which distinguished them both from the Congress as well as from the communists. So there were two different ideologies at that time. That was a Congress and communist. And the Congress at that time meant to serve all the people, whether it is from industrialists or the poor. The Congress meant to serve all the ideologies. The Congress meant to serve all the set of the people, and the communists meant to serve only the poor, only the vulnerable. But the Socialist Party, it said that we will form government when we will come in power. We will form government on the basis of democratic socialism. On that philosophy only, we will form the government. Okay, so they criticized the Congress for favoring capitalists and landlords, and for ignoring the workers and the peasants. So they criticize Congress that they are favoring capitalists and landlords, and they are ignoring workers and the peasants. They are ignoring all of them, and they are only favoring industrialists and capitalists. But the socialists faced a dilemma when in 1945 the Congress declared its goal to be the socialist pattern of the society. So in 1955 Congress declared that its goal is to form a socialist pattern. Its goal is to be to form the party in a socialist pattern. Its goal is to reform the society and introduce socialist ideas in the society. So at that time, in 1955, the Socialist Party, okay, it faced a dilemma, but thus it became difficult for the socialists to present themselves as an effective alternative to the Congress. So they saw that they thought that they are now working for the poor. They have now announced that they will work for the poor. So how uh, we will be present, we will present ourselves as an alternative to them. So they thought different things, they thought different ideologies at that time. Okay, some of them led by Ramana Loya increased their distance from and criticism of the Congress Party. Okay, so some of those leaders which were at that time in Socialist Party, such as Ramana Loya, they said that now we will not criticize the Congress so much, and they got distance from them. And Ramana Loya was then much involved in Goa liberation movement, the Goa that was liberated in 1961 December. Okay, some others like Ashok Mehta advocated a limited cooperation with the Congress. Some other socialist leaders said that okay, now the Congress is going to work for the poor, and we have also an ideology that says that the working for the poor should be the topmost priority of political activism. So Ashok Mehta, there were some leaders like Ashok Mehta that said, okay, now we will cooperate with Congress. We can cooperate with Congress. The Socialist Party went through many splits and unions, leading to the formation of many socialist parties. So as there were different ideologies, some were in favor of Ram Manohar Lohiya, some were in favor of Ashok Mehta. So such that only likewise there were different ideologies. So that's why okay, there were different socialist parties and there were different splits and different reunions. Okay, firstly there were splits. The party divided into many small parties, and after that those small parties got united. Okay, so there were many splits and many reunions of the socialist party. These included the Kisan Mazdoor Praja Party, the Praja Socialist Party, the Sanyukt Socialist Party. Okay, so different parties were there. Okay, Jayaprakash Narayan, Achyut Patwardhan, Ashok Mehta, Acharya Narendra Dev, Ram Manohar Lohiya, and S.M. Joshi were among the leaders of the socialist parties. So these different socialist parties that were formed at that time, they had different leaders such as Jayaprakash Narayan, Achyut Patwardhan, Ashok Mehta, Acharya Narendra Dev, Ram Manohar Lohiya, S.M. Joshi. So they were different leaders of different political parties. They were different ideologies. Many parties in contemporary India, like the Samajwadi Party, the Rashtriya Janata Dal United, and the Janata Dal Secular, trace their origins to the Socialist Party. So today we have different parties like SP, Rashtriya Janata Dal, so we are and JDU, GDS. So we have different political parties today. Okay, and these political parties that we see today in our India, they trace their origins. They had their origins from the splits and reunions of the Socialist Party, this SP party that had more than 10% vote share in the general elections, in the first three general elections. Okay, so it was like that only. So Acharya Narendra Dev, he was a freedom fighter and founding president of the Congress Socialist Party. So we have seen that the young leaders formed Congress Socialist Party within the Congress in 1934. That was banned after 1948 amendment of the Congress Constitution. So he was jailed several times during the freedom movement. He was active in peasants movement also. He was very active in peasants movement. Okay, he led many peasants movement. He was like of a socialist that favored peasants uprisings. He said that the peasants should be elevated, the peasants income, the peasants life of value of life, all these things should be elevated. So he was that type of leader. He was a scholar of Buddhism. He had studied Buddhism very much. After independence, led the Socialist Party and later the Praja Socialist Party. After the independence, you have seen that the Socialist Party. So first he led the Socialist Party. Then when in 1955 the Congress proposed that they will work in the socialist pattern of society. They will favor the socialist pattern of the society. So after that, he left the Socialist Party at that time, and he joined the Praja Socialist Party after the split. Okay, so this was all about this video. In the next video we will be understanding about different political parties, about different ideologies, okay, and different things that were happening at that time during the era of one party dominance. Okay, thank you.